This program is sponsored by WG Financial Group, where your retirement matters.
Coming up today on the RITE Retirement Show with Chris Wallace, maybe one of the biggest but least understood risks to your retirement comes from policymakers in Washington. We'll identify some of these legislative risks and strategies to help you preserve your savings. Plus, you're going to walk away from today's show with actionable steps that you can take today to make sure that you can make a difference for your own financial future. The RITE Retirement Show with Chris Wallace starts right now.
Chris Wallace with WG Financial Group has been helping families in our area plan for a successful retirement. Chris strives to understand all of your financial needs to help guide you on the path to your retirement goals, creating income in retirement, maximizing your savings, and minimizing taxes. Chris has the strategies you need to help you sustain a successful retirement. Welcome to the RITE Retirement Show with Chris Wallace.
Thanks for joining us today. I'm Luann Fulmer here with Chris Wallace, financial advisor and certified financial planner professional. Legislative risks are one of the biggest but least understood risks to your retirement. But after today's show, you're going to have a better handle on what this risk means to your retirement and what you can do about it. So, Chris, I'm really looking forward to our topic today.
Me too, Luann. Glad to be here.
I know. I'm so excited to get started. Today's big idea is, ways that you can help prevent legislative risk from totally undermining your retirement. So why don't you spell that out for us?
So when we think about legislative risk, a lot of us will start to veer into politics, and we know that politics can be very, very emotional for a lot of people, as we've seen in the last election, right? It's in the last few elections, I should say.
Right.
But the reality is, legislative risk is really defined as the policymakers in Congress, it's their ability to constrain a corporation or industry. And I think you have to look at it in two separate segments. I think you have to look at it from a micro level and then also a macro level. And the micro level would be you and I, the viewers out there watching the show today. How does the policy impact us? And usually that's from a tax perspective in a lot of cases. From a macro level, now we're talking about long-term trends, industry trends, things like that, that Congress puts in place to kind of have an impact there.
Yeah, and we've seen this before, where Congress or the IRS makes a change in the tax code, and then it leaves the everyday taxpayer just scrambling to react.
Yeah, it does. And I think what you have to do is you have to stay in tune with what's going on. You don't have to know every single little policy out there, but you should be working with a team of people that can kind of keep you informed to the changes that are taking place. And there's been many changes over the past few years when it comes to policy changes. In 2016, we saw 2017, we saw the tax code change. And then in end of 2019, we saw Secure Act 1. And then a few years later, we saw Secure Act 2.0. All of those brought about major changes that I think everybody should be aware of.
Okay, so tell us more about the macro legislative risks, those things that really do have a broader impact on all of us.
Yeah, well, government spending is a big problem. I mean, as we sit here today, there's $37 trillion in debt. So you think about the programs that Congress passes to, fund certain things. One of the things I think people out there watching the show today should realize is that one of the big drivers in inflation is government spending. So while certain things may feel good to us because maybe there's more money being pumped into the system, stimulus checks handed out, what have you, that also causes a lot of inflation. So when we talk about macro level stuff, like you can just see what we went through with inflation that we just had. A lot of that had to do with government spending. If you look at the massive amounts of stimulus that was handed out during COVID, and then there was the Build Back Better plan that was passed, and it also injected a lot of money into the system. And what happened? We saw a lot of inflation. So, and it wasn't just here; it was global. So
right,
it happened everywhere. But all governments were doing that. All governments were just trying to get through a difficult time. But it also caused a hangover. And the party during COVID was all the stimulus coming out, and the inflation is kind of a hangover.
I know, it's kind of like, it's great you're giving us this money, but we're going into more debt and more debt,
Yeah.
How's our government going to handle it? So
exactly. More people have more money to buy things. It just can cause prices to go up in a lot of cases.
Yeah. So it's very scary that we're $37 trillion in debt. Very, very scary. One thing I want to bring up right now is, the name of our show, the RITE Retirement Show. And the reason we use the word RITE and are spelling it that way, RITE, it's an acronym. And it stands for your process that you take your retirees through. So tell us about that.
Yeah, it is. The R in the process stands for retirement income. The I is for investments and insurance. T is for tax efficient strategies. And then the E is for estate and legacy planning. So as we walk through meetings and plans with clients, we use that acronym and we kind of create what's called a report card. And that report card kind of scores you in each one of those areas. We want to make sure that in those 4 pillars, you are addressing all of the things that we feel like you should address. And we strongly feel if you address those 4 pillars in your retirement plan, then you will have what we consider to be a pretty good retirement for you and your family as you kind of move forward.
Right, because we always say you have to have a plan. You're going into this new adventure called retirement, right. And you really need to have a plan and not just go in and wing it. I mean, I know you've seen people wing it and you're like, ooh, you should have had a plan.
Well, a lot of times I would say you can wing it sometimes, but then I think that if you have a plan, things can become a lot more efficient. We work with a lot of high net worth individuals and engineers. They want efficiency with their money. I mean, they were trained on efficiency through school, through their jobs. As a former plant manager myself, I'm all about efficiency, and there's really no reason why we shouldn't look at our money and our retirement the same way. We should be efficient with our money. We should be efficient with the tax code and what it allows us to do and how we pull out of retirement accounts and all of those types of things, just to make sure that we're doing things as efficiently as possible. Because once you get into retirement, it's a different ballgame. A lot of it's done for you while you're working. You look at your pay stub and all your taxes came out, your health insurance came out. Guess what? In retirement, you have to do all of that. And having someone beside you walking that journey with you, I think it helps a lot of people if they have a partner, if they have a nice CPA they're working with, an estate planning attorney, a certified financial planner. And I always say, Luann, you know I say this a lot. If it's not us, that's okay. You know what? We just want people to find someone that they can trust in to help them through retirement.
Exactly. You don't have to go it alone. Up next, strategies to help you reduce the impact of legislative changes on your retirement. And later, Chris is in the hot seat for Retirement IQ. Stay tuned.
You've worked hard to build up your retirement savings, but do you know how much you're paying in fees inside of your investment and retirement accounts? When it comes to fees you might be paying, what you don't know can hurt you. I'm Chris Wallace, and my team at WG Financial Group can help you understand exactly where your money is going. Call us and set up your discovery session today. Let's get things started.
Are you a federal employee facing early retirement offers from programs like FERA, VSIP, or DRP? Before you make any decisions, call 615-265-1778 to schedule a free discovery session with WG Financial Group. WG Financial Group can help you navigate changes to federal retirement programs. It's your retirement. Know where you stand. Visit WGFinancialGroup.com or call 615-265-1778 to schedule your session today.
Did you know that taxes could be your biggest expense in retirement? No one can avoid taxes completely, but with the appropriate strategies in place, you could potentially reduce your taxes in retirement. With a plan to help you protect your retirement savings from higher taxes, that's just more of your hard-earned money back in your pocket. At WG Financial Group, helping people like you optimize taxes in retirement is what we do. Call us to schedule your complimentary discovery session today.
I'm here with Chris Wallace, financial advisor, certified financial planner professional, and founder of WG Financial Group. Chris, today we're helping our viewers understand the potential impact of changes in legislation and public policy on our retirements. What are some ways we can help take back a little more control?
Yeah, I think it sounds kind of cliche, but to have a retirement plan, I think is a really good start. And we talked about in kind of the opening segment about some micro risk, and a couple of those might be the Secure Act 2.0 that was passed, Secure Act, and then we had 2.0 that followed up with that. When we think about Secure Act 1.0, we know that the way that an inherited IRA could be handled was changed. We also know that the RMD age was changed to 72, from 70.5 to 72. And then comes Secure Act 2.0, moves the RMD age to 73, and if you were born in 1960 or later, it's actually 75. So understanding those and understand how they may play into your plan, I think is really, really important. but it starts with building a base, what I call like a base retirement plan. We know that laws are going to change throughout your retirement. We know that, and we have to expect that. But if you have a nice solid plan in place, then you can just make some minor changes as needed. So if they change the tax law, okay, well, what does that mean? Does that mean I pull out of one of my capital gains accounts a little bit more? Do I change my Social Security strategy, which is important? It will dictate what we need to do to change the plan, depending on how legislation occurs.
So many of the changes that we've discussed today, like you said, involve government spending and taxation. Do we really have control over the taxes we're going to owe in retirement?
Well, we really do, but we are constrained by the types of accounts that we have. So for example, if you're in your pre-retirement years, I think it's really important to start developing different types of taxable buckets to be able to retire with, so that when you're retired, you have a diverse way to pull money out in a tax-efficient manner. So let me make an example. Let's say that you retire and all you have is pre-tax money. That's it, just pre-taxed IRA money. Well, guess what? You have no choice but to pull out of that IRA or that 401k pre-tax, and you're going to be subject to tax at the ordinary income tax rates. But what if you had a capital gains account where you had some stock with some long-term capital gains? And we know that today, long-term capital gains are taxed at 0, 15, and 20%. Most people don't get to the 20%. It's usually in that 0 or 15. So now you can take your Social Security, you can pull out of the capital gains account, you can mix in some IRA money, and you can blend those together in a real tax efficient way to kind of bring your tax bracket down. So you actually do have control of it. Most people, when they are retired, let's say they have a whole bunch of money in savings, they want to try to live off the savings first without touching some of these other accounts. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. There's actually a better way to do that. You can pull some of this cap gains out potentially at 0. Well, that's nice. So you've invested in stock, it's grown, it's appreciated, and now you can pull it out at a 0 rate. Well, absolutely. If you're in certain income brackets, you can do that. Can you take some out of your IRA without taxation? Absolutely. Depends on how much other income's on that tax form in addition to your Social Security. So I think you have more control than you realize. But again, I always say just surround yourself with good people to help you be able to do this stuff efficiently. Most people that's not what they do, so they don't know it.
That's so true. All right, so tell us a little bit more about this income strategy that you walk through with your clients, and then how that can help us reduce taxes in retirement. It's kind of that T in your RITE, RITE retirement process, tax strategies.
Right, and I've used a Rubik's Cube analogy before. Of course, I don't own the rights to Rubik's Cube, but if you think about a Rubik's Cube, sometimes you're trying to solve maybe the green side, and you're doing something to the red you don't really know that you're doing. Yeah. So when we talk about a financial plan, I believe the base part of that financial plan starts with your Social Security. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there listening to the show or watching the show today. They're going to say, well, Chris, Social Security is going broke. And here's one of those things, plan for what you know today. Right. So even if they do cut it, wouldn't you rather have a smaller amount of a higher claimed amount? Of course, certainly. Absolutely. Yeah. So Social Security plays a big role in that financial plan. And really what I like to tell people, Lou Ann, is that the more Social Security income that you have, the more net income you're ultimately going to have, because Social Security is simply taxed more favorable. Only up to 85% of it is subject to tax. And you can get there by adding other income to the tax return. But if you just have Social Security, so let's just take this for an example. Let's say a family or individual, all they have is Social Security, that's it. They're in a 0 bracket. They're not going to pay any taxes. It's not until you start adding the pension, the IRA withdrawal, the capital gains, maybe I sell a rental property, something like that. It's not until you start adding all that other income to the tax return that causes Social Security to be taxed. So you really want to make an informed decision, and a well-educated decision on Social Security, not an emotional one. Right. Because most people will treat it like a game. They don't want to get gypped. I want to collect early because I might die. Meanwhile, they're forgetting a whole lot of other things that impact the retirement plan. Social Security is a big deal when it comes to setting up that retirement plan. Yeah, we say that's the cornerstone of your income in retirement, and then, like you said, whatever else you have. But it's so scary because so many people in my generation, baby boomers, that's all they have. Yeah. We have not done a good job. Well, it's scary because the media is constantly publishing that it's going to go broke in the early 2030s. Right. Okay. That's all true. It is going broke. But like I've told you before, I don't think that it's going to go completely broke, because about 20% of the U.S. population is on some form of Social Security. So if they cut that or eliminate or get rid of it, that's a lot of people that's not going to have any money. So I just can't see the U.S. doing that. They'll end up raising some tax or doing something to the retirement age, changing the wage-based cap. There's a multitude of things that I think they can do to actually fix Social Security. So I think what we have to do as pre-retirees and retirees today, I'm in that pre-retiree category. I'll be 52 here shortly. So I have to start thinking about that. How do I want to claim my Social Security? How do I do that with my wife? How do we work ours together? What's the best strategy? And I think that's the most important part, is that you make an educated decision, not an emotional one.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point. So thank you for that. Straight ahead, Chris is in the hot seat for Retirement IQ. And later, what are some simple, actionable steps that you can take to help prove your financial future today? Chris has your checklist challenge. Stay with us.
You've worked hard to build up your retirement savings, but do you know how much you're paying in fees inside of your investment and retirement accounts? When it comes to fees you might be paying, what you don't know can hurt you. I'm Chris Wallace, and my team at WG Financial Group can help you understand exactly where your money is going. Call us and set up your discovery session today. Let's get things started.
Are you a federal employee facing early retirement offers from programs like FERA, VSIP, or DRP? Before you make any decisions, call 615-265-1778 to schedule a free discovery session with WG Financial Group. WG Financial Group can help you navigate changes to federal retirement programs. It's your retirement. Know where you stand. Visit WGFinancialGroup.com or call 615-265-1778 to schedule your session today.
Did you know that taxes could be your biggest expense in retirement? No one can avoid taxes completely, but with the appropriate strategies in place, you could potentially reduce your taxes in retirement. With a plan to help you protect your retirement savings from higher taxes, that's just more of your hard-earned money back in your pocket. At WG Financial Group, helping people like you optimize taxes in retirement is what we do. Call us to schedule your complimentary discovery session today. How many times in your life do you make $1 million decision? For some of you, that's exactly what Social Security is. Hi, I'm Chris Wallace with WG Financial Group. When you go through and do the math, the average Social Security payment adds up to more than $700,000 over 30 years. If you're married and you double that number, now you're talking well over $1 million. So doesn't it make sense to talk to someone who can help you decide the appropriate time to start taking your benefits? Call us and schedule your complimentary discovery session today.
And now it's time to put our knowledge to the test with this week's Retirement IQ. Are you ready for this, Chris?
I hope so.
It's going to be a lot of fun. We've talked a lot today about legislative risk and then, of course, concerns about public policy changes and taxes and things like that. So that's going to be our topic of our trivia today, okay? Okay, so here we go. First question for you. 9 states do not have an income tax for individuals. Name one of them.
Name one?
Yeah.
Or all of them?
One.
I think I can name all of them.
You can name? Okay. You want to
so.
try that?
Yeah, and the reason I kind of know this is you know, as an advisor, you kind of know what states are, they don't have a state tax.
Yeah.
There. So you want to know that because you have clients asking you that. Well, what if I move here? What if I move there? So I think the 9 are Alaska, Florida, Nevada, New Hampshire, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Wyoming, and the state of Washington.
Very good.
Yeah.
All 9?
Yes. So
plus.
So I do want to mention the state of Alabama. They have passed some recent legislation within the past 3 years to where if you're age 65 or older, you can actually pull out of your IRA or your 401k without any state tax up to certain limits. In 2025, it's $18,000 per person.
Yeah.
So if you think about from a couple perspective, 65 or older, they can pull out $36,000 without any Alabama state tax. So when you're looking at the 2 different states there, Tennessee and Alabama, because they sit right on top of each other, Alabama has tried to make it, what I think they tried to do is make the state more retiree friendly. Because up until a few years ago, they had a state tax no matter what age you were, and you pulled out of an IRA, well, they since changed that.
So how can they do that, I guess is my question. How can they afford to do that? Well, then
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
That's one I can't answer.
Okay, whatever. Okay, moving on to the next question.
Yeah.
All right, question number 2. One of the biggest overhauls to our retirement system in recent years was the Secure Act. What does Secure Act stand for? It's an acronym.
Yeah, setting every community up for retirement enhancement. And you're right, there hasn't been a lot of changes. We talked earlier in the show about RMD changes, the ages that they've moved up, which, if you think about it, many retirees are like, oh, great, I don't have to take an RMD for quite a while.
Right.
But really what they did is on the back side of it, they put the limits on how long the inherited IRA can be stretched out. And if you think about it, who has the most wealth in the world today in the United States is the baby boomers.
Sure.
So Congress knew that all of that wealth is about the transfer, and they basically constrain the sons and daughters and non-spousal beneficiaries to a 10-year time frame. So they're going to get that money a lot faster than the old rule where you could stretch it out over their lifetime.
Right.
So there was probably some strategy there.
Oh, yeah, you know it. Question number 3. What is the current full retirement age in the United States?
Well, it depends on when you were born. So to make things really simple, this is the way that I do it. If you were born in 1960 or later, like myself, my full retirement age today, unless Congress changes
Unless it changes.
and we talked about that, is
Right.
to stretch Social Security out. 67. 1960 or later is age 67. Then from there, what I do is I walk back every year. And for every year that you walk back, so for example, if I go from 1960 to 1959,
Yep.
it's 66 and 10.
Yeah.
58,
10 months.
66 and 8.
8 months.
And you walk all the way back till you get to 1954, and then it's 66.
Okay.
And then from 1943 to 54 is age 66, and we don't really need to go any further back than that.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Very good. Okay. Last question. What year was the Roth IRA introduced? The Roth.
It was the late 1990s.
Yes.
I can tell you that.
Yep.
It was, and you go over this stuff in your studies, and some of it sticks and some of it doesn't. It was 97 or 98 is when it was introduced.
Very good. It was created. It says it was introduced in the late 90s, created actually in 97. And so then if you think about it, we had some major changes really to retirement in the 70s because that's when the 401ks and IRAs were created.
Correct.
Okay, and
Yeah,
then
the late 70s,
the Roth
correct.
accounts in the late 90s.
Yes, and I think it was introduced by a guy by the name of William Roth, who was a senator out of Delaware, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
He's a senator. I don't know.
Somebody
where
can
he's from.
fact check me on that. It doesn't matter. What I do
Yeah.
want to mention is the 401k Roth wasn't really introduced until 2006. So you have the Roth IRA, and it took a while for the 401ks to offer the Roth option.
Yes. Okay. Very good. I'd say you get an A++ for those questions. Good job on our RQ. All right. Still to come, you're going to learn some simple steps that you can take today to potentially help you improve your situation. Because how useful is knowledge without action? Stay tuned for that.
Are you a federal employee facing early retirement offers from programs like FERA, VSIP, or DRP? Before you make any decisions, call 615-265-1778 to schedule a free discovery session with WG Financial Group. WG Financial Group can help you navigate changes to federal retirement programs. It's your retirement. Know where you stand. Visit WGFinancialGroup.com or call 615-265-1778 to schedule your session today.
Did you know that taxes could be your biggest expense in retirement? No one can avoid taxes completely, but with the appropriate strategies in place, you could potentially reduce your taxes in retirement. With a plan to help you protect your retirement savings from higher taxes, that's just more of your hard-earned money back in your pocket. At WG Financial Group, helping people like you optimize taxes in retirement is what we do. Call us to schedule your complimentary discovery session today. If you're worried about higher prices in retirement and you're worried about losing too much of your money in the stock market, I think you've got enough to worry about. Hi, I'm Chris Wallace with WG Financial Group. If the thought of losing too much of your retirement savings in the market is keeping you up at night, I can help. My team can review your portfolio and help you identify any changes that could be made to help you feel more confident about your money. Don't stay up all night worrying about your retirement. Call us and schedule your complimentary discovery session today.
Thanks for joining us today on the RITE Retirement Show with Chris Wallace. Chris, this has been a lot of fun today. We've been learning and identifying legislative risk and how it can affect our retirements in our future. So I think we've all learned a lot. And as the saying goes, knowledge is power.
For sure, but I think it was Dale Carnegie that said knowledge isn't power unless it's applied. Right?
True. We need to apply it.
Right. So
Good
what
job.
we've tried to do on the show today is really talk about some things really surrounding potential legislative risk. And I think as you are watching the show today, I think there's three things that I want you to take away. Number one, understand what your Social Security amounts are at what ages. So most people are waiting until full retirement age these days, but understand what it is, what amount you're going to get, and then work on a claiming strategy. And what I mean by a claiming strategy, not an emotional one. Not, I'm going to take it at 62 because I might not live until 68, because then I'm forgetting about the spouse. Because
Right.
maybe we have a lower income earning spouse.
Good point.
I'm forgetting about my taxes. I need to look at all of that. So understand your Social Security strategy. Stay up to speed on legislative changes. So we talked a little bit about Secure Act 2.0, the RMD changes. There's a lot more changes in the Secure Act proposal, or the laws that passed. So one of those is 529s that can be rolled to Roth IRAs. There's automatic enrollment for 401ks. There's, if next year, starting in 2026, if you make more than $145,000 in W-2 income, all of your catch-up has to go in as Roth. That's a big deal, because if you're in the 22% tax bracket, it's about a $1,650 federal tax hit. So you need to stay up to speed with the legislative changes that are happening. And then you also want to take a look at your taxation and understand how you're saving money today, so that when you get to retirement, you can have a tax efficient strategy in how to pull out of those retirement plans. It starts with Social Security. That's the first part.
Right.
And then understanding the different buckets of taxable money that you do have. So again, you can put together that kind of holistic plan. And as I say, Luann, if it's us, great.
Right.
What we want you to do is find somebody. If you do call us, we're going to go through our discovery process. We're going to go through that RITE process, the retirement income, investments, insurance, tax sufficient strategies, estate and legacy planning. And we're going to put it on a report card for you, so you can kind of see how you're going to score in those areas. And then from there, we can tell you how we can add value to your family.
And that's what I always think. How can somebody do this alone? It scares me, because all these things you bring up that we need to know about, and yet we don't always get it all. The public kind of scrambles when we hear new laws and everything. So
you're probably going to miss a couple things if you try to do it. It doesn't mean you're going to fail. I don't want to say that, because I'm not a fear monger.
Yeah.
But what I can say is you're probably going to miss a few things.
Right. Okay. Very good. So the retirement landscape, like we've been talking about, is constantly changing, and Chris and his team are here to stay on top of all the latest changes that take place, so that you can spend more time doing what you love with the people who matter the most to you. For Chris and our team at WG Financial Group, I'm Luann Fulmer. We hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
This program is sponsored by WG Financial Group, where your retirement matters.